Thank you for watching or listening to this free podcast of the Young Turks. We want to make sure that you get some portion of the show every day, but if you want the full show, which is actually 5 segments, come become a member and support independent media as well. tytnetwork.com/join. Meanwhile, enjoy the free podcast. All right, welcome to the Young Turks. Cenk Uygur, Anna Kasparian with you guys. As usual, wild and woolly day. In fact, we are literally going to start woolly with Bigfoot in a second. It's a big day today, but it's also a big day for the next 3 days on the air. So tomorrow, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on the power panel. So not as a guest, but as one of the hosts. She will be hosting the first hour along with me, Anna, and Nando Vila is going to be back from Fusion with us. And then the second hour, we're going to have James Thompson also host with us. He is one of the Just Democrats running in Kansas. Excellent power panel tomorrow. Don't miss it. And we're going to address some of the things that the mainstream media has been getting wrong. So that ought to be fantastic. On Monday at 5:05, right after the show, that's 5:05 Pacific, 8:05 Eastern. We are going to have 9 Justice Democrats up for election on Tuesday night. They're all going to come on the Young Turks, make one last pitch, and then Tuesday night, it's make or break. One of the biggest primary nights of the entire season. You've got Kansas there with Brent Welder and James Thompson. You've got Missouri with Cori Bush. There's so many of them, I can't list them all, but Michigan and Washington, wonderful, wonderful candidates. Are they gonna win or are they gonna go home? So I'm already nervous, really, really nervous. So either it's gonna be jubilant on Tuesday night or the opposite. So don't miss any of that coverage. You could watch it on tyt.com/live. Of course, we now have our app on both iOS and Android. So tyt.com/app, and you just watch the live coverage on your phone anywhere you want. And of course, you get all the shows as well, including podcasts of Anna's show, No Filter. And soon we'll have the damage report on there as well. We already have clips, but we want to try to bring you the whole audio show of John Iadarolla's show. And of course, everybody gets every minute of every show if you're a member. tytnetwork.com/join to become a member. You guys make Home of Progressives possible. So now, having said that, we start with fun before we crash into Trump.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All right. Oftentimes, it's incredibly frustrating to see Democrats, Democratic candidates refuse to fight and be on the offense when it comes to several political issues. Now, Leslie Cockburn, who is a House candidate, a Democratic House candidate from the state of Virginia, does not match that description of Democrats. She is going in guns blazing against her Republican opponent, and her attacks are different from what you'd expect. But nonetheless, I love it. So she goes after Republican Denver Riggleman. Okay, there he is. And here is an example of one of her attacks. She says, quote, "My opponent, Denver Riggleman, running mate of Corey Stewart, was caught on camera campaigning with a white supremacist. Now he has been exposed as a devotee of Bigfoot erotica. This is not what we need on Capitol Hill." You know what, I agree with you. I don't begrudge anyone who's into Bigfoot erotica, but I'd like them to kind of keep that in their own personal lives. You know, I don't want our politicians talking about their fetishes. Now, he said that he did write an anthropological book.
Oh, great.
Oh, it's so good. Sort of based on parody and satire, which has been a running joke with a bunch of military pals for the past 14 years. Apparently, he and his friends in the past had exchanged Bigfoot erotica imagery. On social media, Twitter, I believe.
Well, of course they did. Then they thought the guy had Bigfoot had.
He had beautiful hair.
But they did
rough talked him and run him off.
So if you guys missed it, that was one of the best reports CNN has ever done, and one of our favorite segments ever on the Young Turks. When they went and talked to a guy who thought he saw basically Bigfoot.
Right.
But don't worry, like he said, he rough talked him and run him off. He told him, yeet. He had beautiful hair, 6 fingers. Okay, now there's a guy like that running for Congress. Okay.
No. I love all of this because, okay, attacking him for aligning himself with, white supremacists, that makes all the sense in the world. That's to be expected. But then in the same tweet, out of nowhere, come the Bigfoot attacks. And it's just, I just love it, right? Be ruthless, be strong, be powerful.
Yes, well, that's the serious message here, and I'm gonna get to that in a second, but hold on, I'm not done with Bigfoot yet. So Riggleman, I mean, this is no joke. I mean, he's really, really into Bigfoot. I don't know how particular which way he's going with Bigfoot, but I don't know if he's getting big-footed or he's doing the big-footing. Okay, but listen, he bragged about a book he's got coming out recently called "The Mating Habits of Bigfoot and Why Women Want Him." First of all, do they?
No. Okay, hold. But my favorite thing is when you hear like middle-aged right-wing men like make declarative statements about what women want.
No.
Because who would know any better than they would, right?
No.
They know what I want better than I do.
No, Riggleman knows. He knows.
He knows.
He knows you want Bigfoot. You're saying
Get.
but instead you're thinking he's got.
He had beautiful hair.
So, all right, wait, I'm not done yet. He had another book. 2 books on Bigfoot, unbelievable. More than a decade ago, it was titled "Bigfoot Exterminators Incorporated: The Partially Cautionary, Mostly True Tale of Monster Hunt 2006."
Are these really books that he published?
Yeah, it says co-wrote a book, and he says he's got a new book release coming out in about a month or two.
On this?
I mean, one was, I guess, hunting Bigfoot, which I suppose is a little bit more normal. These days in Republican circles, oh, you only believe in Bigfoot and believe in hunting him. Oh, that's nothing. At least you don't want to have sex with him. I mean, that's the state of the Republican Party. The other one was the mating habits of Bigfoot and why women want him. Okay.
How do you know anything about the mating habits of Bigfoot? Like, anyway, okay, so by the way,
yeah.
Go ahead. He says, I do not believe that Bigfoot is real, to be fair to him. He also says that he does not want to alienate any Bigfoot voters. So look,
Is that last part a joke or is he serious? I can't tell with the Republicans anymore.
No, I think, look, to be fair to him on this whole Bigfoot thing, he's having fun with it, I hope. I don't think that he's being serious.
I guess, but all right, so before I get back to him though, I gotta say.
Instead of them, him.
So I found somebody, then because of this story, people started writing about Bigfoot fetishes. Okay, so I love all these titles that it was actually Huffington Post that found them all. One of them is called "Two Big Feet, One Big ... Apparently this one is kind of a common theme, but the people are worried that it has racial undertones. Captured by Bigfoot. Okay, I don't know why it's racial. I don't want to even get into that. Okay, anyway.
I don't think you're ready for this Yeti.
Yeah, no. Okay, not Yeti. Too soon. Okay, hold on. I'm not done. 2 more. No, 3 more. One book is called "Bigfoot Depravity." But people are into this, and I love you, brothers and sisters. If I don't care about your fetishes, have at it, Hoss. But people endlessly amuse me. Another one, "Pounded by President Bigfoot."
No, wait, hold on. These are books, or
these are erotica?
Oh, erotica.
Yes.
Okay.
And apparently there is a prolific erotica writer by the name of Chuck Tingle, and he's. Of course, that's his name, of course. He's the one who wrote "Pounded by President Bigfoot." And finally, his last bestseller was "Bigfoot Pirates Haunt My Balls."
No, come on.
This is literal. I'm not making it up. I have got to say that I am thrilled that nothing has ever haunted my balls. Let alone Bigfoot. So, now back to something serious for a second. Thank God, finally a Democrat fighting fire with fire. You know, the Republicans make up stuff about Democrats and just smear them left and right, left and right. Now, here's a Democrat, by the way, named Cockburn. God bless her heart.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's just no, but her last name's Cockburn.
Like, in this story.
Yes, in this story, and I love it. I love every part of this.
Yeah. No, but in all kidding aside, she's fantastic because, and this is a really interesting race. 5th district in Virginia is Charlottesville. And that is a district that had one of the biggest anti-Muslim bigot in Congress. And then Tom Perriello, a wonderful progressive, won that back in the day. That district has gone back and forth. So it's actually a really important district in the country. But Leslie Cockburn has got the right attitude here, which is, no, if you're gonna write Bigfoot erotica, I'm coming for you. Okay, you might be coming for Bigfoot, but I'm coming for you. Okay, so she's like, I'm not gonna let it go. I'm gonna tell people that this is what you're into. And if they like it and they're like, bravo, Bigfoot erotica enthusiast, okay, great, then they'll vote for you. But goddamn right that it's time we started fighting back.
Right.
So I love her attitude.
So, and I wanna also be clear about one other thing. So in terms of the Bigfoot erotica, I think in the old school way of thinking, as someone on the left, right? It's like, okay, well, that doesn't harm anyone. If that's what he's into, who cares? Why attack him on that? But that is exactly the type of thing that Republicans would attack a Democratic candidate for,
they'd
right?
destroy a Democratic candidate over it. Imagine if she'd written Bigfoot erotica.
Right.
All of his ads would be about Bigfoot erotica.
All of
every
them.
one of them.
Every single one.
And now he pretends to be outraged. Please spare me.
Exactly.
He put pictures of his own head. He says military buddies. His excuse for everything is military buddies. And then with a giant big ... but censored out. And his picture on Bigfoot's body and then the thing. I mean, if a Democrat had done that, they'd be like, oh, you're done. In fact, you know what would happen? The Democratic Party would drive that person out. They're like, oh no, it's gonna be a distraction. It's gonna be a distraction, please leave. You gotta leave the party right away, right?
Yeah.
And they do a circular firing squad. So, all right, well, two could play at that game.
Exactly.
So if you're into Bigfoot, at least the voters deserve to know.
They just deserve to know. I mean.
And we'll see if he winds up Bigfooting the bill.
Okay.
That was a schwang wang wang ending of an otherwise fun story.
Yeah, very fun. Wanted to start off with something different today. But with that said, we do have a lot of other news to get to, so let's get started. A number of Trump administration officials did a press briefing today on the issue of the upcoming midterm elections and the fact that, yes, Russians are still trying to infiltrate and meddle in our election, especially this upcoming one. And it's important that they address it because there has been some mixed signals coming from the White House, specifically from Donald Trump. Now, this press conference seems to attempt to do some damage control following Donald Trump's statements that are highly favorable toward Russia. But nonetheless, what you're about to hear from people like Dan Coats, the director of national security, is important. And it does show you that there are at least some administration officials who are aware of this and are attempting to do something about it. Let's take a look.
We continue to see a pervasive messaging campaign by Russia to try to weaken and divide the United States.
Okay, so there's Dan Coats. Again, that is the director of national security. Kirstjen Nielsen also was part of this press briefing, and she also addresses Russia here. Let's take a look at what she has to say.
Free and fair elections are the cornerstone of our democracy, and it has become clear that they are the target of our adversaries who seek, as the DNI just said, to sow discord and undermine our way of life.
So, Cenk, I feel like this press briefing is a little surprising. It's surprising to me because it's one of the first times you see a concerted effort by Trump administration officials to really address this issue and show that they're taking it seriously. Trump was not part of this press briefing. He didn't release any statement in regard to what was said during the briefing. I just feel like there's this damage control element to all of this.
Yeah, actually, I don't find the damage control weird. I find other things that were said weird in this press conference. It's fairly normal for them to want to do damage control because they have the intelligence. They know Russia is actively interfering. Even Nielsen, the person you just saw, who previously had kind of poo-pooed it, is now saying, and she had said earlier, just a couple of days ago, reversing and joining Dan Coates and others going, no, it's really important, it's serious. And she said the Russians have democracy in our democracy in their crosshairs. So now that's a person who was trying to deny it earlier. So apparently they have seen some intelligence that has spooked them, if you will, right? And so I like what she said about free and fair elections. I mean, that's, by the way, Wolfpack's slogan is to restore free and fair elections. Wolf-pack.com to get money out of politics. And let me just quick side note there. Note that, you know, there are other people who interfere in our elections. I'm in the camp that the Russians have. I'm in that camp because of overwhelming evidence in that regard. But corporations also interfere in our elections, and so do other governments. So we should act out on all that. But so the interesting part here is, the way that they were talking was a little surprising. Coates said that he is, quote, not in a position to either understand or fully or talk about what happened in Helsinki. So in other words, he's saying, I wasn't briefed on what the US president and the leader of Russia talked about for 2 hours behind closed doors, even though he is the director of national intelligence. He sits on top of the entire intelligence community, and the president won't tell him what he told the Russian president for all that time. That is very strange. I know we get used to things in the Trump administration that would otherwise be startling, but then he also went on to say that I think the president has made it abundantly clear to everybody who has responsibility in this area. That's an awfully strange way of phrasing it. So why is that strange? Well, couldn't the president just, yeah, of course, Dan Coates is in charge. He's my director of national intelligence, or couldn't he join, or, you know, but for these guys to come out and say, it's okay, we're in charge, and we are fighting back against the Russians. And Trump is not here, but I assure you, he knows that we're the ones who are responsible in this area.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, there's something a little strange about that.
So, okay, so I want to be clear about what I meant in my comments. So I didn't see this press briefing as damage control for Trump and his reputation. I saw it as damage control for administration officials who might be a little hesitant to speak out against Trump, or might refuse to publicly, openly, transparently be transparent in showing that they disagree with him. But I think that they want to make abundantly clear that they do see what's happening with Russia, and they are not in agreement with Trump when he makes it seem as though Vladimir Putin is not a threat, or that the Russian government is not a threat and has never tried to meddle in our elections. I see this as them trying to like message to the American people, no, we see what's happening and we do take it seriously. Yeah. So it's more damage control for themselves than Trump.
Yeah, no, normally any normal administration would actually send these people out to do damage control for itself, because they'd realize it was such a stupid thing to do, to say that the Russians are right and we are wrong. But of course, Trump doesn't see it that way. So that's why this split is fascinating. I want to show you 2 more clips here, and then I want to come back to another quote that I found to be curious, and that's by the FBI director. Let's go to the next video here, though.
As I have said consistently, Russia attempted to interfere with the last election and continues to engage in malign influence operations to this day.
So that's the FBI director, Christopher Wray, explaining they're still doing it right now. In fact, let me go to his curious quote. The other one he said there was, he said, I can assure the American people that the men and women of the FBI, starting from the director all the way on down, are going to follow our oaths and do our jobs. So now you might say, hey, Cenk, you're overreading it, and it's possible, right? Because he's just saying, look, the president's constantly attacking the FBI nonstop. In fact, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who's awkwardly present, attacked the FBI herself just the other day, right? So it's the FBI director protecting the FBI, that makes sense. But the way he phrased it, that I can assure everyone that we're going to follow our oaths and do our job. It could be that this is just, hey, we all got together and decided to do damage control for our own careers for some later date when we're out of the Trump administration.
That's the way I see it.
Right, yeah. and that is the most likely thing. But for all of them to get together and to say, yeah, Trump's not here, but we're on it, and we do take Russia seriously, and we're going to follow our oath no matter what. I don't know. I grant you that I really could be reading too much into it, but I did find the wording from a couple of them to be interesting.
Well, regardless of what their true intentions are, and if you take what they're saying at face value, meaning you believe what they're saying, it's a good thing that you have some people in a position of power who are acknowledging this issue and attempting to find solutions for it. Because look, my concern wasn't, I want to go to war with Russia, or I don't want anything like that. I just want to make sure that we secure and protect our elections. And so I was concerned that with Trump's very cozy relationship with Putin, nothing was going to be done about this very serious issue. So I don't know what these individuals are going to do specifically to protect, the midterm elections from any interference from Russia or any other country. But knowing that they are aware of this and are at least acknowledging it and want to do something about it doesn't put my mind at ease completely, but it gives me a little bit of comfort.
I want to show you the last clip here because it's Dan Coates. I read you the quote, but I want you, let's all look at it together to see how he said it, about what he knew and didn't know about the president meeting with Russia.
I don't know what happened in that meeting. I think as time goes by, and the president has already mentioned some things that happened in that meeting, I think we will learn more. But that is the president's prerogative.
So that was earlier, of course, and he continued along the same veins today. But as you look at that, how could the director of national intelligence not know what happened in the meeting at all? Now, look, one possible theory is, no, the president's incompetent and just doesn't do anything he's supposed to do as president, including sharing intelligence about meeting with the Russian leader for a long, long time with his own director of national. Shouldn't you at least debrief and go, here's what he said, and what can we get, figure out from what Putin said,
right,
and make sure that we understand their motivations and actions, et cetera, so that we can act and react towards this country, whether you consider it an adversary or not. I mean, you'd want to huddle with your director of national intelligence almost immediately thereafter.
Yeah, right. Not with Trump.
And so one possibility is he's just a buffoon, right? The other possibility is he didn't want to tell his director of national intelligence what he talked about.
He went out of his way to ensure that conversation was as private as possible. There was only one other person in the room, and that was the interpreter, the translator, and that's it. So Trump didn't want to have a conversation about whatever it was that he discussed with Putin. Look, in any other circumstance, then someone might be able to say, okay, yeah, Trump's a buffoon, or the president is a buffoon, but you can't buy that in the context of this whole Russia debacle with Trump.
Yeah, and last thing is, look, we wanted to show you that clip from earlier when Coates talked about that, because you would think, all right, look, that was a little closer to Helsinki when he said that, and you saw it on CNN there, right? Even then, it's egregious and unbelievable. And then he said it in public that Trump wouldn't tell him what was in the meeting. So that's amazing. But since then, Trump has had plenty of time to call him in and go, hey, Coach, what are you talking about? Here's what happened in the meeting. Stop saying that stuff in public. That looks bad. That looks weird, right? So that's why I'm emphasizing that today he still said, quote, I'm not in a position to either understand fully or talk about what happened in Helsinki. It's one thing to say, I can't comment on that. I'm the director. That's intelligence, and I can't talk to you about it. But I'm not in a position to understand it. Now, there's something super weird going on, and it might be. Look, now this is speculation, but that they have intelligence about Trump that is not yet public, and so they want to go and have a press conference and say, we're going to do our jobs. Everybody be cool. And right now, the president is not telling us what he did with the Russians. I don't know. Well, look, we shared the facts with you. I shared my analysis of having seen a lot of these press conferences, what seemed a little off to me, and then the rest is, of course, just conjecture. But probably we'll all find out. I don't know whether it's soon, but we'll find out at some point.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we have to take a quick break. When we come back, we have incredible stories, including some more reporting from Emma Vigeland. Videos are incredible, you don't want to miss it. Yeah.
All right, Back on the Young Turks, a bunch of fun tweets here. Eric Rooney writes in, first time this morning in months watching TYT Live. I forgot how goofy you guys are, in parentheses, in a good way.
Yeah.
Okay.
I miss those days. I miss those days where we could do a ton of goofy stories because we weren't.
Ironically, a goofy president has led to disastrous stories.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But I'm glad that you didn't think afterwards.
Get.
I wonder how that guy's doing. I wish we could reach out to him and be like, how are you?
How you doing, old man, old friend? We had given him the nickname Epic Mountain Man.
Yes.
But could you imagine if we had resources? I'd go, oh my God, if we had TV resources, we would have so much fun.
No, we wouldn't. We wouldn't.
No,
you wouldn't let us have fun.
No. We would. We'd get, because those guys have like money coming out, like they could do anything they want and they just sit there and do nothing instead. Anyway, we'll bring Epic Mountain Man together with Denver Riggleman after he loses the election. Okay, and have them talk Bigfoot back and forth. How is that? That would be
big
gold.
Ideas.
Big ideas.
That's what that would be.
Bigfoot, big ideas. You know what they say about people with big feet? They have big ideas. Okay, Sasha Ray writes in, damn, Anna Kasparian with the win. You're not ready for this Yeti.
That was good. That was
epic. All right, great. And finally, Mischief Manager says, whatever happened to the lizard cam during the commercial break? I haven't seen marijuana in a while. Is she/he okay? Does she/he need help? I don't know what the marijuana is either, by the way.
Yeah, I don't either.
Although its skin transitions all the time. That's a whole other thing. But.
And we will assure you that the iguana is doing very well and enjoys housing that is probably better than the housing that most of us live in.
Well, that's what you assure. But he ended with #LizardGate.
Ooh.
Okay, don't get him started. Okay, put shirts with L's on them. Okay, L for Lizardgate. What happened with the lizard, and does it have anything to do with the deep state? Okay, speaking of which, yesterday I tried to start this thing. I'm not sure I'm putting my back into it. Let's see what happens. Does it go viral? V for viral. So the goofy guys that are doing QAnon goofy / Terrifying, exactly. They're going around with Q shirts. So I was like, okay, let's go around with V shirts. So we put it up on shoptyt.com. Okay, how's that for simple? They have Q, we have V.
No, I feel like they took a lot of time to come up with that design.
Yeah, no. They've been working around the clock. So V for vendetta, V for veritas, V for victory. Okay, V for peace. Okay, but mainly for truth. So show them that there's more of us than there are of them. Shoptyt.com to get that. It's fun. See what happens. All right, what's next?
All right. Robert Mueller is offering Donald Trump and his legal team a new proposal in order to get Trump to agree to an interview with Mueller. Now, Trump has been urging his team to allow for this interview. He believes that he has the ability to convince Robert Mueller that this whole investigation is a witch hunt. Now, this follows Trump's numerous tweets essentially tearing down Robert Mueller, going after individuals tied to this investigation. Now, the team, Robert Mueller's team, has offered the White House a format changes. Perhaps he's even willing to limit some of the questions asked of President Trump or accept some answers in writing. So again, Trump has explicitly and publicly expressed a desire to be interviewed, but his lawyers have repeatedly objected to the investigators' proposals. And just to remind everyone of what Trump said about Mueller and this investigation just this week, a couple days ago, this is a terrible situation, and Attorney General Jeff Sessions should stop this rigged witch hunt right now before it continues to stain our country any further. He also said that Bob Mueller is totally conflicted. Okay.
Yeah, and he's doing dirty work. I mean, again, we have a madman for a president. Okay, so I think what Robert Mueller's trying to do is just lure him into the room. And it's possible that the president's lawyers would tackle him if he tried to answer any question that was outside of what they previously agreed to talk about. But you know Trump, he thinks he's a genius, so he might just start answering them. And you also know Trump, most of the professional lawyers have already left, so he's left with a bunch of clowns. I mean, he runs a 3-ring circus, so he's going to bring, of course, clowns and elephants, kind of literally with the Republicans, to Mueller. They're going to be outmatched. And so Mueller's thinking just anything, please come here, come this way, just a little further, sit down, let's have a couple of questions, see what happens. So it's inconceivable that Trump wouldn't incriminate himself and wouldn't lie. He can't go 2 sentences without lying. So you just got to get him in the room.
My read of this is a little different. And of course, this is based on my perception of the story, and I could be wrong, but hear me out. I think what's happening is, A, Trump doesn't really want to be questioned by Bob Mueller, but perception is everything. And so saying, I really want to answer his questions. I think I should answer his questions, but my legal team, my lawyers won't let me do it. I have nothing to be afraid of. I have nothing to hide, but my lawyers won't let me do it, right?
Yeah, so Anna, it's a great hypothesis, but I'm afraid you're making the same mistake everyone else is.
That I'm guessing he has a strategy when he doesn't.
He never has a strategy. You're assuming that he thinks 2 steps ahead or 1 step ahead. Never. He never thinks 1 step ahead.
I agree with you on that. However, I think some of the people surrounding him, even though they're some of the most deplorable people on the planet, I think some of them do think of strategy.
No, of course.
Yeah.
No, his lawyers, every lawyer that's been there is like, no way we're going to let Trump testify. Why? Because they know Trump. They deal with Trump all the time. And they know that he's a pathological liar. He would immediately perjure himself the minute he walked in the door. It doesn't matter what you ask him. If you ask him, hey, is the sky blue? He'll be like, it's green. It's a strong green, a big green. He can't help himself. So no, they tackle him before they let him into that room. I'm not talking about the lawyers. Even Rudy is like, no, I mean, like we could, but we're not going to. We're not. It's a perjury trap.
No, but I think the strategy was cooked up by his team. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, I hear you. No.
Okay.
So, and I'll tell you why. This, of course, we're just guessing here. But number 1, he doesn't listen to anybody. He wouldn't listen to his team, okay? And number 2, he, in his incredibly stupid mind, actually believes he's really, really smart. And so he thinks, I'll just go in there and I'm like a smart person. That's one of my 2 great traits, including being mentally stable. And so I will go and talk to Robert Mueller and I'll outwit him. I guarantee you he thinks he's smarter than Robert Mueller and that he could just talk Mueller out of it. Like every rational person goes, even the MAGA guys are like, don't do that. Don't do that, no, it's not gonna work out, right? Okay, but Trump in his head thinks, I got him. Ladies and gentlemen, I got him. So that's why his lawyers are constantly like, I mean, he could, but just hold him, get the other arm. Yeah. No, he can't have him go in the room, but he could, kind of.
Yeah, look, Trump is a wild card, so I'm uncertain about the future. I don't know whether or not he's actually going to go through with it. And you're right in that once he has an idea in his head and he thinks that he's going to succeed in executing that idea, he's not going to listen to his legal team and he's going to go ahead and do what he wants to do. With that said, though, you are right in that Mueller seems to be willing to do anything just to get Trump in the room. To give you an example, according to the Washington Post, Mueller has proposed that he might not even ask any questions about actions Trump has taken as president, including his private discussions with Comey. So, I mean, if you take that off the table, then yeah, I mean, it definitely opens up more of a possibility for Trump to be willing to talk to him. But anyway,
look, the degree to which Bob Mueller and his team are smarter than Donald Trump is immeasurable. Scientists, if they spent their whole lives, could not measure it. The Mueller team would come in with carefully crafted questions based on the information they already have to try to try to get Trump to answer things that are essential. And they know, my guess is that they know he did it and they have a whole bunch of evidence. So the questions, any question they would ask him, he would immediately give a damning answer to.
They wouldn't even have to ask him questions. I feel like he'd go in there.
He'd go in guns blazing, right? Like, well, somebody should have fired you. That's obstruction of justice, right? And my name's not Donald Trump. It's John Miller. Okay, perjury. Right? Like, I mean, we just keep on going, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, I hope to God that he does not listen to his attorneys. And I agree with a TV pundit that once said, like, no, it's criminal negligence on the part of an attorney to let Donald Trump testify under these circumstances. Like anyone who knows Donald Trump knows he will immediately lie and get himself in much bigger trouble. So, In fact, I think it's grounds for disbarment. Okay, but I hope that Trump does. Hey, look, and if Trump's watching, okay, if somehow this is replayed on Fox News, okay, now Donald, are you smarter than Mueller or aren't you? Only one way to find out.
Damn, that was a dare. We'll see how it goes. All right, other news. As we had talked about recently on the Young Turks, Emma Vigeland was in Florida talking to Trump supporters at a rally for DeSantis, who has a gubernatorial bid in Florida. And we showed you a number of different Trump supporters. I would argue that some of the videos that we showed you yesterday included the more animated supporters. But I wanted to give you some other examples of the people who continue to support Trump and the reasons for why they love him so much. So with that said, let's take a look at a young Trump supporter who says that he actually was against Obamacare. That was one of the things that turned him on to Trump and his presidential bid. Take a look.
I watched throughout the election, and I just felt like I couldn't vote for Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump based on their experience and the reputation. And then once Donald Trump started doing what he wanted to do and really got into power, I noticed that everything that he said he was going to do, he actually did.
So what specifically did he do that spoke to you?
He reformed taxes. He, started going against Obamacare because I didn't really think that Obamacare was good for the middle class.
Do you think that Medicare for all is a good option, or do you just want private insurance?
I believe you could do something similar to Canada where it is Medicare. There is a version of Medicare for all, but then they also have the ability to have private health care if you choose to pay for it.
Hey, I feel like that's what Bernie Sanders is promoting right now.
Okay, no, I love this because right-wingers do projection. They think oh, you guys are out there trying to punk them or troll them or make fun of them. No, it's not true. What we're doing is we're putting a mic in front of people and finding out why they like Trump and asking them legitimate questions. So it's not like a Steven Crowder type of gotcha, ha 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 ha, I'm so clever and you're not. So because look at this, that's enlightening for all of us now. Not one person doesn't represent all the Trump supporters, obviously. The crazy guy we showed you yesterday doesn't represent him. This guy doesn't, but overall you can begin to get a sense, right? By the way, you should watch that whole video and it's on Rebel HQ on YouTube and Facebook. And if you get our app, you get all of that programming really easy. Just go get TYT app to be able to watch all of it. But anyway, in earlier parts, most of the people answering were saying, why do you like Trump? He's not a regular politician. And I was thinking I knew it, man. People in Washington, they love politicians because they're their friends. But they don't, so they're incapable of seeing how much the rest of the country hates politicians. In fact, when I say that, they think I'm being uncivil. No, I'm just telling you the reality. They don't like politicians. The politicians they dislike the most are slick politicians. So when they see Donald Trump with all of his rough edges, they're like, nah, it's not a slick politician. Okay. And that part is true.
Let me just add something to that is important. So whenever Trump tweets, and as you all know, there are all sorts of misspellings, grammatical errors, lack of punctuation. The worst thing to do is to get on him for that, because that is a strategy that works with his voters, right? Because it makes him human, it makes him relatable. He's not some polished, rehearsed politician.
I know, but it's frustrating to me because, look, if you also misspell Marine Corps, that's okay, but you're not the president.
Right.
The president is supposed to be smart. It's not a thing to brag about that the guy you support is not very bright and doesn't know how to spell. So, okay, but you're right about that. They do think that makes him real. Okay, so now back to this guy. So, look, I don't sense any malice from this guy, and he really doesn't get it. So, and he doesn't have the right information. So first of all, he says Trump delivered on everything. No, he didn't, and he mainly talked about draining the swamp. And his administration is filled to the rim with corruption. But this guy probably didn't get the memo on probably 90% of the scandals that Trump is. Do you think that guy knows that Trump did a deal with the Chinese to reopen ZTE and allow them to come into the United States even though they're a national security threat because China gave $1 billion to a park in Indonesia that then gave millions of dollars to Donald Trump? He doesn't know that. If he knew that, he would probably be outraged. And then look at what he says about healthcare. He's like, I don't like Obamacare. Why? Because you're bombarded in conservative media. Obamacare is terrible. Obamacare is terrible.
But not only that, Obamacare did have massive failures.
Yeah, and it has real issues, and to be fair to him, etc. Right? And so, what system do you like? He likes the one in Canada. Oh my God, that's the one progressives want, right? And in fact, that's why Medicare for All polls at 60% or higher, because a lot of Republicans and a ton of independents also really like it. Even the mainstream press, as they're attacking Medicare for All, like the Associated Press did a terrible job the other day, Wall Street Journal again did it today, etc. The AP had to begrudgingly say it is incredibly popular with independents for some reason, right? Yeah, because people want healthcare. It's not that complicated. And so to close the loop, Trump in the campaign said that he would give everyone healthcare and it would be cheaper. Now, when he went to destroy Obamacare, he did not propose an alternative. So he would not have done that. He would have done the exact opposite. But this guy, I bet you he genuinely believes that Trump's proposal would have given everyone healthcare, just like Canada, and would have given them options.
Yeah.
But it's not remotely true.
Also, when Emma asked him to be specific in terms of what Trump did follow through on, he mentioned tax reform, which anyone who paid close attention knows that there really wasn't tax reform, there were tax cuts. So Trump promised that even if he lowers the corporate tax rate, he'd get rid of loopholes so these corporations actually pay their fair share of taxes. Because the effective taxes that corporations were paying was around 17% because of all these loopholes. Well, he didn't close those loopholes. You know what he did? He actually limited deductions that people living in blue states can take advantage of, and people in the middle class can take advantage of. So for instance, if you're living in a state that has state taxes, you can no longer deduct that from your taxes.
So one last thing about that. I mean, again, it goes to, did he really deliver? In the campaign, he was smart, well, smart or otherwise. He said, hey, I'm gonna go after the loophole that allows the hedge fund and private equity guys to pay the least amount of taxes. Now that's true, that is an egregious thing. And I didn't believe him for a second because I know that he's a pathological liar and I know that he was just trying to get votes, but it is a savvy way of trying to get votes. So guys like that probably heard that and go like, oh yeah, way to go get the hedge fund guys. Did he actually do it? Of course not. He left it in there. He said he'd negotiate drug prices. Did he do that for you? Of course not. Anything that helps the rich and powerful, he lied about and never did. But they never got the memo. Yeah. That's why it's not like people make a very wrong assumption oftentimes, especially on TV. They think that the average Trump voter or the average voter, period, in the country knows all the things they know and they like Trump anyway. No, they don't know 80% of that stuff. So, and look, and it's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag. So let's show to the other.
Definitely a mixed bag, because there are plenty of people who do know what's going on, but they support him regardless. And so the next video is an example of that. Let's take a look.
Donald Trump, being a businessman, has used his knowledge and gotten rid of the corruption that's been in Washington for a long time. He's making smart, sound decisions. Sometimes maybe not the right wording, but he's trying to run the country like a business, and he's setting us on the right path to prosperity.
You don't worry about the bankruptcies at all in his past? No?
Everybody's had problems in the past, and to become rich, you got to go through your ups and downs, and he's come out of it every time, and he's a proven winner.
See, but he doesn't know either, right? So he thinks Trump's running the country like a businessman. No, he's not. He's running it like an idiot. There's nothing that he's done that would give you a sense that he's business savvy. He doesn't know the details of the 6 bankruptcies. He doesn't know that he borrowed at a 14% interest rate, which no rational businessman would borrow at. He doesn't know that he bankrupted casinos, which is nearly impossible, right? He doesn't know that his dad actually gave him $200 million and he bungled his way through it. He doesn't know that he basically did money laundering for the Russians after the 6 bankruptcies to get himself back up on his feet. And so that he thinks, well, I don't know, he looks like a billionaire, and everybody tells me he's a billionaire. He's got to be a smart businessman. He's running the country well like a businessman. None of that is true.
I think that there is a significant portion of Trump supporters who will be confronted by the very facts that you mentioned, and they will make excuses for him. That is exactly what happened when Emma mentioned the bankruptcy. He made excuses for him. Well, everybody goes through a tough time when they're trying to get rid. No, they don't. It's not common for people to go bankrupt 6 times. It's just not, after inheriting a ton of money. So anyway.
1 bankruptcy, maybe even 2, and somehow you recover. 6? The House always wins, unless it's run by Donald Trump. He destroyed one of the most rock solid principles there is, certainly in the casino and gambling world. He lost running. It's impossible what he's done. He is a buffoon. I mean, this guy, look, you're right, Anna. They make excuse after excuse. But if they knew what we know about his actual bungling, I think that they would be shocked. They would probably think, no, for one, they wouldn't believe it. They'd be like, no, you're lying, you're fake news, right? It can't be, it can't be. This guy's attached to my identity now, it can't be, right? But if you actually convinced them that that was real, I think they would be dumbstruck. They'd be like, wow, really?
I don't know, I disagree with you. And we'll keep showing you videos, you guys can decide for yourselves. Let's take a look at the next one.
So what attracted you to Trump in 2016, and has he lived up to your expectations?
Absolutely, if not above and beyond, I believe.
Specifically, policy-wise, what has spoken to you?
Economically, I mean, I think he's, he says what he says, and he gets it done. And I believe it, and I think maybe he might get a Nobel Prize for it too.
See, he says what he says. He doesn't like classic politicians. He might get a Nobel Prize. That's okay, no big deal. He doesn't know it's Nobel. That's no big deal at all. But why? Why does he say that? Because Trump keeps saying it, and the other Republicans say it. So he heard that Trump already solved North Korea. He's about to get a Nobel Prize because he already got peace with North Korea. But that isn't true. He got nothing out of the North Korea negotiations, and North Korea just earlier this week is building missiles. Our intelligence says they're building missiles that and they haven't stopped their nuclear program at all. But he thinks Trump's about to get a Nobel Prize.
Okay, so here's my question to you. What are members of the media supposed to do when you're dealing with a group of people who have this blind trust in a politician? Like, this is the thing that makes me feel like this job is not effective in change. And I know that's being super pessimistic, right? But on one hand, you have news outlets. Take us out of the equation. Just any news outlet that's credible and legitimate. You can't just state something without evidence to back it up. If you're a true journalist, you have the evidence, you have the data, you have the statistics to back it up. And so you have the press making its case, just giving you the information with that data. And then you have Trump, who just says things and then his supporters take it as face value. So if there's all this blind trust in Trump, then what good is it? I mean, it is important to do journalism. I'm not trying to minimize that. But in terms of reaching out to these voters.
No, I totally disagree, and I'll tell you why. Okay, no, Anna, look, but that's why I get so frustrated with the mainstream media and why I got so frustrated with Hillary Clinton and the kind of campaign that she ran. Because what do you hear nonstop on cable news? Trump's a bad guy, Russia, he did a bad tweet, and he attacked people, and he shouldn't attack people. Do you hear nonstop about his 6 bankruptcies? Did you hear about all the details of it during the campaign?
No.
No, Hillary Clinton never talked about it. The press never talked about it. That's why I did the Loser Donald series. Because I'm like, isn't anybody going to tell people how incompetent this guy is, that he can't run a business if his life depended on it?
Yeah,
and they never told them. They never told them.
Yeah, you know what, you're right. You're right, and it's not just what happened leading up to Election Day, it's what's happening now. You're right, they do focus too much on things that don't really speak to voters. So I'll give you an example of something that I've been yelling about on No Filter on a regular basis, and no one in the mainstream press talks about this. Everyone pretends like the economy is great. Joblessness is down, everyone's working, everything's great. No, it's not, no, it's not. Look, the stock market artificially inflated. Yeah, there's a low unemployment rate, but wages are super stagnant, they remain stagnant. People are drowning in debt, right? Everyone's talking about the GDP and how it was 4.1% in the last quarter, right? In the last quarter, which is great. But people took out so much debt to actually stimulate the economy and buy products. They don't talk about those things.
And they don't give you context. Look, on almost every one of those issues. So when they passed a tax cut, did you see all over cable news, hey, this does not include getting rid of the hedge fund loophole that Trump talked about nonstop during the campaign? I bet you never saw that on cable news. If you saw it, CNN mentioned it once and then they were done with it. Then they were back to the tweets and then he doesn't like these kind of people and doesn't like that kind of people. But these folks, look, so to your point, earlier point, Anna, some of them really, really don't know. And some of them do know that he doesn't like X, Y, and Z and kind of like that about him.
Yeah.
And so the press and Hillary during the campaign accidentally reinforced the things they like about Trump. That he's not a regular politician, he's a regular schmo in a sense, at least his intelligence, right? And that he doesn't like the same people they don't like. But they never told you what a buffoon he is, and how he never delivers on his promises. So by the way, what is a bankruptcy? And it happens to people, I totally get it, I'm not trying to judge, right? But it is not delivering on your promise, in a sense. And it should be heartbreaking. It should be something like as a business person or as a regular person, you should be like, God, I wish that hadn't happened. Instead, Trump goes around and goes, that's a smart business thing to do. That means it's a smart thing to do to screw over people who trusted you, right?
Look, there are obviously different types of bankruptcies. And so there are people, middle-class Americans, working-class Americans who have done everything right, and then they get sick.
Yes.
And because our healthcare system is so screwed up, they go bankrupt, they lose everything. That is very different from someone who was passed on a tremendous amount of wealth from his father and then squandered it in nonsensical investments and bad deals.
When your family's devastated by an illness and you go personally bankrupt, anyone who judges you does not understand the conditions that Americans actually live under. But if you had $200 million given to you by your daddy and like an idiot, you decided to start 3 different casinos in the same city, which then bankrupted each one of them, that's a different story. That's a bankruptcy because you are a terrible, terrible business person. Every one of them, his advisors warned him, why would you start 3 casinos in the same city? They're gonna cannibalize each other and you're paying too high an interest rate. And he's like, I got it, they'll all say Trump on it. So look, pass these videos on to your friends, your family, people who don't know the reality. So because cable news isn't gonna cover it enough. So pass these on to your dad, your mom, your uncle, whoever you think needs to hear the reality of what Donald Trump actually is.
Let's take a break. When we come back, Ivanka Trump speaks out against some of Trump's policies, and we'll tell you which ones.
You're right in the middle of this podcast. We got another great segment coming up for you. If you'd like the full show, which is actually 5 segments, go to tytnetwork.com/join. You become a member, you support the show, you support independent media, and you get the whole 2-hour show ad-free every day. Let's go do it now. All right, back on the Young Turks. Everybody remember Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez hosting the first hour with us tomorrow on the Power Panel, so don't miss that. It's obviously at 6 p.m. Eastern. Everybody knows 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern is when the show is. Tell your mom, tell your friends, tell Randy Gonzalez. I switched that up a little bit. Okay, Maxwell Crystal writes in on YouTube Super Chat. Gotta agree with Anna here. It's a situation where you're talking about fighting someone, but unfortunately your friends are holding you back, so your hands are tied, referring to Trump testifying or not with Mueller. Agree to disagree on Anna being right. AJ Beamish writes in on Twitter using hashtag TYT Live. There is no excuse for ignorance in the age of information. Trump supporters choose not to know. I don't agree with that one either. You'd be surprised that like if you live their lives, which God help you, you'd be surprised at the information that they receive. I don't think it ever occurred to them to go to alternate.
Well, thought bubbles are real. And that is a modern day issue that I don't think has been addressed enough. There haven't been any solutions for it. When you're on social media, when you're on Google, you are shown things that these platforms believe you want to see. And so if you have a left-leaning ideology or a right-leaning ideology, you're going to be surrounded by, the same perspectives, the same types of articles that agree with what your preconceived notions. So that is a real problem. But with that said, I do think that there is a certain level of ignorance that people choose in their lives,
I hear you, but that's why when conservatives say, "Oh, we saw you guys on election night in 2016," Okay, I actually like that a lot because, hey, at least you're watching. So come watch us on election night in 2018. Come watch us on Tuesday, which is a giant primary night. And you might accidentally learn something. So that's why I always say, like, share the stream, share the videos, sharing is caring, especially with people who don't agree. Break through their thought bubbles.
Yep.
All right, what's next?
Okay. During a recent Axios event, Ivanka Trump was asked a question about the media and what she thinks about it. Take a look.
We have a number of our colleagues here on the press. Do you think that we're the enemy of the people?
Sorry?
Do you think the media is the enemy of the people?
No, I do not. No, I don't.
How do you
I certainly have. I can share my own personal perspective. I've certainly received my fair share of reporting on me personally that I know not to be fully accurate. So I've, I have some sensitivity around why people have concerns and gripe, especially when they're sort of feel targeted. But no, I do not feel that the media is the enemy of the people.
Okay, so bless her heart, finally saying something that isn't exactly what her dad says, and she was supposed to be a moderating influence, and at least on this, she's speaking her mind and being accurate. And I actually don't have any problem with how she stated it. So she says, look, they haven't covered me fully accurately. I don't think that the press has ever covered anybody fully accurately. That's okay. I think that most of them are trying their best. And even if they did cover her accurately, she might not like their coverage and hence say that. And it's okay to think that the press has a certain perspective or a bias, etc. But calling them enemy of the people is dangerous and authoritarian and un-American. So at least she doesn't do that. So bless her heart. And now I could see, because you almost never hear her actually talk. She's always in the background.
Which is weird because her voice would make you think that she talks all day. She sounds like she's losing her voice.
But
anyway, I just want to say that no, I don't think that speak up and speak faster.
Oh, that's funny you say that.
Like that
I actually think the opposite.
So difficult to sit through.
No, and this is going to be weird, but it reminded me of Obama.
Yes.
And the reason for that is because thoughtful people pause before speaking, and so Obama did a lot, Ivanka does, and that's why it was like weird to have a Trump speak that isn't a total idiot. So that's why I was going to say, of course Trump thinks that she's the smartest person in the family because
she actually thinks about things before she speaks,
and she speaks in complete sentences, right? I mean, you've heard Eric Trump, you've heard Donald Trump Jr., you've heard Donald Trump Sr. They're a mess. So when she actually speaks like an intelligent human being, the Trump family must be like, whoa, look at fancy pants there with correct English.
All right, well, there's another media angle that I want to get to, so let's do that. Donald Trump is known for aggressively attacking the media. He refers to them as fake news. More importantly, he refers to the press as enemy of the people. And so there have been members of Fox News who have also fed into that. And now it's having real ramifications, real consequences for journalists who are out there simply trying to do their jobs. A recent example was when Jim Acosta, the political reporter for CNN, went to a rally in Florida, Tampa, Florida, that Trump was speaking at. And while he was there trying to cover the event, a number of people harassed him, yelled at him, shouted at him, and he shared video of those interactions on his Twitter page. He also said the following: just a sample of the sad scene we faced at the Trump rally in Tampa. I'm very worried that the hostility whipped up by Trump and some in conservative media will result in somebody getting hurt. We should not treat our fellow Americans this way. The press is not the enemy. So something interesting happened after Acosta made all of this apparent, kind of spoke out about it on social media. Hannity came to his defense. So let's take a look at what Hannity had to say on Fox.
It's why we call them the Destroy Trump press. Now, CNN's chief White House correspondent, Jim Acosta, he has been one of the worst offenders. And the crowds at last night's Trump rally in Tampa, Florida, Well, they told him in person what they think of him and his network. Jim Acosta shared his fear of Trump supporters, and he tweeted out, quote, "Just a sample of the sad scene we faced at the Trump rally in Tampa. I am very worried that the hostility whipped up by Trump and some in conservative media will result in somebody getting hurt. We should not treat our fellow Americans this way. The press is not the enemy." Jim, I'm a pretty prominent conservative in the country. Let me say this clearly and loudly. I want every journalist in this country, everyone, I don't care who you work for, to be safe. And I'll tell you right now, I will be the first person to come to your defense if I'm there and anyone ever dares lay a hand on you. If I was standing there, if I see it happen, I will be the first person to jump in and fight on your behalf. Physical violence is never acceptable to me, nor is it acceptable to the conservatives I know and respect. And let me also be clear, if you're a conservative, and by the way, you ever threaten anyone, you're not a friend of mine, you're not a friend of this program.
Okay, so I actually respect Hannity for doing that. I think he did a pretty good job with that.
Please.
All right, we can disagree about that in a second. But the part I didn't agree with was no conservative I know or respect would resort to violence.
Oh, really? That's funny.
Have you been paying attention? How about when Trump says at the rallies, go take him out, I'll pay your legal bills. Attack him, punch him in the face. And all you do is fawn over Donald Trump. What do you mean no conservative you know or respect would encourage violence? The president does it all the time.
In fact, in the end of that video that we just showed you, he said, if you ever threaten anyone, you're not a friend of mine. So now that we know that about Hannity, what would he say to this video?
This guy started screaming by himself, and I don't know, rough up. Maybe he should have been roughed up because it was absolutely disgusting what he was doing.
All right, yeah, get him out. Try not to hurt him. If you do, I'll defend you in court. Don't worry about it. In the good old days, this doesn't happen because they used to treat them very, very rough. And when they protested once, they would not do it again so easily. Part of the problem and part of the reason it takes so long is nobody wants to hurt each other anymore, right? We have wonderful security guys. They said, Mr. Trump, there may be somebody with tomatoes in the audience. So if you see somebody getting ready to throw a tomato, knock the crap out of them, would you? Seriously. I will pay for the legal fees, I promise. Do you know what they used to do to guys like that when they were in a place like this? They'd be carried out on a stretcher, folks. He's walking out like big high fives, smiling, laughing, like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
Okay.
So, okay, you rest your case, I hear you. So Hannity is deeply disingenuous when he says he doesn't want anyone threatening anyone. He's in love with Donald Trump, and we just showed you the tape. It's open and shut case. But I still like that Hannity at least goes out and says, don't hurt him, don't touch him, don't do anything physical, because they listen to everything Fox News says. So maybe it helps them bring it back a couple of inches, and they moved it forward many yards and miles. I hear you on that. But he did at least say the right thing there. But I want to be clear too. I think, look, I've said this a lot of times because it's true. It's not a black and white issue. It's not, you either say the press is wonderful and everything they do is great and just the mainstream news is terrific and don't criticize it, or they're the enemy of the people and somebody should do something violent to them, right? No, the answer is yes, it's totally within bounds to point out the perspective of the press and to even be mad about it. The press has been vicious to Bernie Sanders. And yes, Bernie Sanders crowds boost CNN just as much, and I don't mind that at all. But but with liberals, what are they gonna do? Throw Birkenstocks at the press? No, they're not gonna. The liberals aren't gonna do anything, and nor does Bernie Sanders or anybody else encourage them with ugly talk like they're the enemy of the people. And after a Capitol Gazette and 5 people were murdered,
Trump still refers to them as enemy of the people, okay? And let's also be clear. Look, that segment with Hannity is all fine, hunky-dory, if he actually put action behind the words that he's, uttering in that segment. Because the fact of the matter is, he has been not only very complimentary toward Trump every time he attacks the media, he himself has engaged in the exact same type of rhetoric that you see from Trump. And if you don't believe me, of course we have a montage proving that as well. Let's go to video 9, I'm skipping ahead.
Now, the media in this country has zero credibility. We have known this for over a decade. They are frauds. They are partisan hacks. Pretty much all they do is parrot liberal political talking points, attack President Trump 24/7. Yeah, I'm not surprised I've become a 24/7 target. They hate conservatism. They hate anybody that dares to challenge their rigid, radical, left-wing ideology.
They hate you, they're radicals, they hate the president. I mean, come on.
No, but that's different than enemy of the people and punch him in the face. So, look, I think that what conservatives have done in attacking the media as liberal is deeply corrosive, and I don't believe they want to make the press better. I think they want to destroy the press and replace it with Hannity's propaganda. Unlike us, we want to actually make the press better and actually report the reality instead of just calling everything neutral, because neutrality is the enemy of reality. But that's not, it's a different league to call them enemy of the people.
No, okay, sure. Okay, I'll give you that. It's different to call them enemy of the people, but listen to what he's doing there, right? This whole fake news narrative, I mean, what Fox is essentially state-sponsored media. They might not be getting money from the federal government, but they're certainly sponsored by Trump. They're certainly applauded by Trump nonstop. And so, like, the narrative that you keep hearing from right-wing media over and over again is, don't trust the legitimate sources, don't trust evidence, don't trust facts, don't trust anything you hear or see, only trust us, only trust Trump. That is also incredibly dangerous, right? Especially when he might not be saying enemy of the people there, but what he does imply over and over again is the media hates you. The media hates you for supporting Trump. And I think that plays into the same thing that you hear Trump saying over and over again about the media and how they are the enemy of the people.
Last thing, fine, those are all things that are important and real and things to take into consideration. But at some point, you do have to criticize the press.
Of course you do.
So you've got to find the correct balancing act, because the press does have a bias, and they don't know it. They don't have bad intent. The right wing. I mean, you're right that Hannity's language is dangerous, Anna, because he is putting bad intent on them, which makes people angrier and want to take action against them, saying, "Oh, they're trying to do this and this.
They're trying to deceive you."
It said they're trying to deceive you. No, they're not.
They're fabricating things.
But in my opinion, the mainstream press has a deep establishment bias. They are for the status quo. So when you say, "Hey, would like to help the average American," every time, almost every outlet will say, "That's not practical. It's not pragmatic. We can afford wars, and I'm never going to ask about the cost of wars. We can afford trillions of dollars in tax cuts, but how dare you try to give health care to the American people, just like every other developed country?" And they will attack progressive ideas consistently and to some degree viciously. Now, but it's not because they're the reporters are secret conservatives and they can't wait to help the rich. It's groupthink, and they've been taught, no, Sean Hannity calls you liberal, make sure you really go after the liberals. And the status quo is great, it's great. Politicians with lots and lots of money that they took from corporations, they got bribed to take. That's wonderful, they're honorable gentlemen. It's groupthink. So we do have to call that out strongly, but there's a really important line. And I think that Hannity is over the line. I hear what you're saying. I like that he at least walked it back to try to get to the right side of the line by saying don't do anything physical. Trump has never been anywhere near the right side of the line. He's way overboard to begin with, and now by openly encouraging violence against the press by calling them enemy. What do you do with enemy of the people? What does the government do with enemy of the people? He's the head of the government. He's way past that line, and he is a danger to our Constitution and to our republic.
And also, just one other fact that I want to point out, one day before Hannity did that defense of Acosta, one day before, I should say, he did that defense of Acosta, he was on Fox News and essentially said that Acosta deserved the harassment he got. So I don't know if he changed his tune because maybe there was a little bit of backlash, but either way, actions speak louder than words. And so it takes more than just defending Acosta in one segment to actually change the minds of some of the more unhinged Trump supporters who actually want to carry out acts of intimidation or violence.
All right.
We gotta take a break. We'll be back.
Thanks for watching or listening to this free version of the Young Turks podcast. You know that the full show is at tytnetwork.com/join. If you become a member, you get the full show ad-free. We love you for watching or listening. Either way, there's gonna be a new free podcast tomorrow. You can keep on doing that. But if you wanna get the full show ad-free, tytnetwork.com/join.